Hello everybody, Speed Dog Running, and again we're building the Mirror Smiles F86, and I'm getting certain things done here, and it's a lot of work, and we're basically what I'm doing is fine-tuning everything and getting little things taken care of, and it just takes time, and I'm starting to do panel lines, which is something I kind of touched on. But I want to explain where I'm getting all my dimensions and stuff from. And if you use the Mirror Sets, he will send you a PDF of the drawing in which he got all the parts up there lined up and done for. And you'll see that they're exactly the right size. Now I'm using a 48 scale jet model. But in PMs with you guys, you're absolutely correct. And there are a couple things that I need to make very well noted on this, is because we are building an A model here. And there's a lot of differences in the jet. And I want to talk about the differences in them and what they are. And the number one noticeably is the tail. Okay, this took me some time, and and if you watch the previous episodes, I beat myself up trying to figure that out a little bit, and I didn't like certain parts of it because the one I saw at the Boeing Museum of Flight has a big ass hump on the back of it right here, and it does look like that. And so I actually built that up a little bit. And it should, a lot of yours will come down and actually slope down, and it cuts back right into here. That's not the tail configuration I wanted. And it does in fact roll back. It's not a straight up and down cut on the A model. It's a little bit different. If you look on them, it'll give you a lot of that deal, and I actually extended it out 1/4 of an inch in there. And so I did change that, and I did line these doors off of one of the bulkheads. Now you'll have to look back at which one I actually did it for, and I checked it out carefully when I did lay them out. But if you look in other episodes, I made them too long, and I kind of did it on purpose, but I wouldn't do it that way because that bulkhead sits right back in here. I tried to do them in between the bulkheads, and that didn't work out too well. But these do work out this way. And the swing, they actually do drop considerably. They drop a full inch to come down, but my hinges aren't exactly scale, and I'm not going to worry about it. They'll work just fine. They drop enough. I'm more looking for when it's flying through outer space going Mach 5 that it's going to be okay. So it's an added detail. You do not need these unless you really want to put them in. It depends on what you're going to do, guys. I mean, I talk about this a lot. I wanted to make this jet and show a lot of its potentials, not just to tell you guys you have to do this, because you absolutely do not need speed brakes. Now, the main thing behind the speed brakes was because it's something that you're going to mark in there anyway. Why not make them work? So I did them, and they look pretty cool to me. To me, they look all right. And the sliding canopy, you don't need that either. I built it in there because I wanted the sliding canopy because, well, I'm putting in a very expensive cockpit in this thing. So why not open it up so you can see it? And, and also it's removable. and there's other things I'm doing here and there, yada, yada, yada. Now, the airplane comes apart. I did build the two-piece. A lot of guys have asked me about that. It's strong. It's not going to let go. It's actually quite a bit. I've talked about those two in previous episodes, and we're just going, but it is a lot of fitting. Even though you've sheeted all this, you've got to glass it in two pieces. You can't do it all in one, and I strongly recommend that you wrap the corners and actually wrap it in there. It gives it just that much, a little bit more rigidity there, and it'll give it some strength to keep it from chipping out and stuff. Now, wing roots I've done like this, and they need to be sanded out and probably primed again, and that's fine. I did a lot of this stuff yesterday. I put a tremendous amount of time into this, guys, and I've had a lot of personal messages, and I encourage that. I'm more than happy to talk and share with the class. Anything you got questions on, please do contact me and do this. And I would go and answer any questions about any of it. Now, this airplane is comparable to size as the Tomahawk, even though the Tomahawk is actually in fact bigger. Yeah, and a lot of guys ask me about the nose gear. Well, Carton Alexander and I figured out the landing gear for this thing, and he built mine, and we put our heads together. And this is why I like having PMs and being able to be personal one-on-one with you guys about this. And these are, I think that's part of the camaraderie being a builder. And if you guys have not seen Carton's work, you need to go and take a good look at it. He's amazing. His airplanes are absolutely gorgeous. He is building the F-86, and he is also building a lot of other stuff. He's got an arsenal of airplanes that makes the municipal airport look like crap. And it's kind of really funny to watch. And he's a nice guy, and I like talking to him. We FaceTime quite often, and there's a lot of really good things. And this guy is very sharp. And I think one of the biggest things, once that gear gets here, I can show you exactly why I have not cut out any big ass holes in the bottom of my fuselage, because it's a one-time shot to make that right. Now, in order to do that landing gear, I need to have it here so that I can actually go through and figure this out right where that is, because that door and this and that is going to be in there. We're going to have to add a little bit of bracing, and I'm going to get a shot back in here and clean this airplane. It's getting pretty dusty in there, and that's why there's no electronics installed, and that's except for the tail. And the only reason I did put the wiring in the tail was because it was easy to get to. And I would suggest, if you're building the one piece, that you do get your wires run before you get them, because it's going to be, your arms are only going to be able to reach as far as that hatch is going to allow you. And another thing too is that that's very fragile in the back where that goes. You're going to have to do some beefing up when you put your tailpipe in there. We'll cover that when we get ready to install the engine. And yes, I do have the engine. A lot of guys have asked me about it. It's a Jetmont. It's a 160. It's rated at 38 pounds. Damiano says that the 160 will fly it beautifully. And his runs is the engine that he runs in the jet that he has flown over 500 times now. He's running on about a rating of 170 power to spare. Jetman engines are underrated for their power, and that one there is putting it out, so it's actually probably close to what your King Techs of 180s and 190s would be running. And I wanted to talk a little bit about used equipment on this episode because we're about saving a little bit of money, because you're going to be in it. These engines are not cheap for these airplanes, and there's not. You can get tied up in an engine with a JetCat or any of these things, $4,000 very, very fast. Now, I'm a member of a lot of Facebook groups, and I can tell you right now, if you don't have PayPal, you should have it, because you're going to find some of the best deals out of the UK. And they're a lot more touched on for money over there than we are. And I don't know why it is that way, but it is. But guys, I was able to pick up my used engine with 4 hours on it and a service ticket. My engine was serviced for the Merlin, and I got the service ticket right here. And it was done by Jetman. It's got 4 hours on it. I've got everything that goes in. It's a gas start. It might be a little older, and that's okay with me. I don't need all the new fancy bells and whistles on everything. I just want to fly. And the tinkering is half the fun of this to me. So I would say don't shy away from used equipment. Just make sure that what you're buying is what it's buying. Ask questions. And these guys are usually pretty damn good pilots and jet flyers that are out there, and they will usually steer you pretty good over there. I got my engine in just 4 days from the UK. Cost $100 to have it shipped and insured. Don't skimp on the shipping on that. And it's, like I said, it's a $3,000 engine to buy it new. If you can get it for under half that cost, then you've saved yourself a ton of money. Because if you build everything brand new in this airplane, by the time you get it done, wired and painted, and everything else, you're going to be in this airplane approximately $7,500. So these are little things that just kind of go. You want to build things in the best of quality that you can get. And those of you that are building these airplanes, I'm assuming that you built quite a few before, but taking the hints, there's a few of you that are building this airplane just watching me and learning as you go, then it's very important that you guys realize that you are building a very large airplane that is going to cost a lot of money to finish it. And there are things, if you're intending to build more of these this size, you want to make sure that you're staying with a comparable size to what you already built, because not all of us can just go out and have a surplus of engines. And I think one of the biggest things about all that is that a lot of people have asked me about the cost. Well, you're going to, by the time you get this thing done and built, you're going to be in this airframe no less than probably a couple $1,000s. And it depends on where you're getting materials from. I use eBay exclusively on certain things because there are a lot of good online hobby shops on there. I love dealing with Omni models for one, and there are a lot of other real good companies that are out there that actually do have quite a few really, there's just some really good deals. Midwest Balsa has always been a good choice, and I enjoy, to me it makes more sense to actually get in and get the best deal. I always buy in bulk. Don't try to buy it by the sheet. It'll kill you financially. You can get For instance, my planking material and everything that's right here, I've got some 1/4 by 3/32 by 36 before these, because I just started doing them. And then there's just a lot of, I can get them for, you can buy them by the stick, and they're going to cost you $1 a stick for some of them. And if you get 30 of them for, I think I paid $4.95 for the 1/4 inch over here on eBay for Midwest, and I got 30 of them. I think I paid $9 for them. So, you know, you're getting them for 36 cents, so you're saving over half. And as far as servos go, I stick with servos that I know are going to work. I've never had bad things to say about Savox. I love them. Hi-Techs are a little cheaper and do a very nice job without any failures or anything else. But you need to look at the torque and the speed. And these, you want a high speed, because if you're running a gyro like I'm running in this, you're going to need something that's going to be able to counteract them. And you don't want to be mixing servos, guys. This is something that is very important that everybody understands. And when you get on this, you cannot put analog servos with digital. You need something that is going to be programmable. And a programmer's cheap. Hi-Tech programmer's only $9. No reason not to have them. And I use Hi-Tech servos, and I'm using 625, where are they? I am using the 625 MW. These are wide voltage, high voltage. They're a 25 tooth gear, and they are super fast. And they are a damn good servo. And these are on the torque on these they will run at 6 volt or 7.4 volt. 0.13 is there. So you're going to have to do these. Now, if your pilot's in there, you want to make sure that you're getting the basic same. You want to make sure that when you order your pilot, if you're going to do that, that he's got digital servos in him and that he's high voltage. Because if not, you'll fry him. And the thing is just, you don't want to be mixing servos and such. Now, a lot of guys have been asking me about a lot of the products I use. I use these type of hinges because I've never had a problem with these failing. And these I paid for a bunch, but if you go through like Zeroli, you're going to get a better deal going through Zeroli plans. And then I'm using these for all of my servo mounts. Inside, they will bolt through. I do not mind having bolts and screws sticking out of the airframe, guys. I don't mind it a bit. Because, for one, to me, it looks good when you got screws that are poking out of airplanes. Because they all do. They have weird... No airplane I've ever seen in real life has ever had a weird ass screw sticking in it. They've all had them. And you know what? That's repairs, and that's part of your weathering. That's little things. So what? They had to oversize a rivet. They put a great big giant one in there. You know, big tear or hole, had to stop a tear or something like that. There's no such thing as a straight airplane. So just remember that when you're building these things, it's okay to have little dings and dents. It's okay to have that. You're not looking for a perfect airplane. And once I actually do get the panel lines on here, you're going to notice how wavy this thing's going to get. And I want it to be that way. There is no such thing as a straight or narrow airplane. Not possible. If you go and look at a Spitfire in any of the museums, they are beat to hell, but they're gorgeous. And and that's one of the things I kind of felt bad about this is because I sanded a lot of the detail out of my girl's hard work, but I left some of it. And I want a little bit of unevenness and stuff like that. It's about, the only reason I took a lot of it out is because, for one, I want to use certain detail sets. And even though Miguel's work was beautiful, it was too exciting to look at for a lot of what I was doing. So I kind of had to do that. And since a lot of that was designed not to be a sliding canopy, I had to cut it because I had to drop it down a little bit right here in order to get it. And this actually is not a straight piece on the Real Jet, guys. This is the way it should look, and I don't know if it has that in there. Mine does. And on the A models, the canopies are completely different from the H or the F models. So make sure that you're paying attention to all these details on there and you're looking at things. And I have actual pictures of the Real Jet that the model I'm copying. And we just are lucky enough to have one at the Boeing Museum Flight in Seattle. And I spent a day looking at it. And if you go in there and you talk to the curator before you get there, they will let you go, and they will have an escort in there to let you take pictures of certain parts of the airplane. If you tell them you're building one for scale competition, you need some reference photos, and if you have, I'm going to tell you something, I don't have mine with me, but if you have EAA, which is Experimental Aircraft Association, 9 times out of 10, you present that and you show them that you're an A&P like I am, they'll let you right in. I know a lot of you guys are not, but they will still get somebody and a guide to let you go and walk behind a certain airplane that is roped off, and they'll let you take the pictures of the things you need. They don't want you touching the airplane. They don't want you going measuring things. And that's where your model airplanes are going to come in, because you're going to get a basic idea. Now, like I said, these are good for certain references and points. But what you need to be looking at are certain, you can get a different deal, but if you get the actual drawing, you can actually scale it and take those measurements off your computer screen. And those are going to be things that you're going to be looking at and being able to have. And I will show you this even more as we go. I've got a laptop that I use especially for this. That doesn't matter if it gets whatever. And so these are things that we do. And it's just getting it. These little details like this down here, they are in the real airplane, guys. And these are all little points and things that are going in. And again, once we primer this again, this line is going to disappear even more. And we will, and this is another thing I want to tell you guys too. Be sure that when you are going, because we will touch this up a little bit with some sandpaper to kind of close that up a little bit more. We're looking for that, not this. But you're going to see it a little bit no matter how much time you put into it. There's just no getting around it. And so with that, I'm going to leave you guys to your builds and keep your comments and everything coming. Like, tell your buddies, subscribe, and we will see you guys in Funny Papers.